Greetings students, this is Assistant Professor Dr. Ghaithali Jasim. Today we will talk about the nervous system physiology. This is the part 1. Let's have some simple information about the nervous system. The nervous system includes all neural tissue in the body, and the basic functional unit of the nervous system are the neurons. The neurons are supported by supporting cells or neuroglia or glial cells. These support and protect the neurons. This is the appearance of the neuron. We can find here the dendrites, which receive the information or the signal. It has connected, or it is connected to the cell body, which has the nucleus and the rest of the organelles, and then starts the axon, the long axon, which conducts the generated signal. Then it will be delivered by the telodendrites. This will be useful for the next slide. Okay, so the supporting cells or neuroglia can be divided into the neuroglia found in the peripheral nervous system. We can find the satellite cells. These surround neuron cell bodies in the ganglia, which is a collection of nerve bodies in the peripheral tissue, and it regulates oxygen and carbon dioxide, nutrients and neurotransmitter levels around the neurons in the ganglia. The other peripheral neuroglia, we can find it around the axon or covering the axon. It's called Schwann cells. Schwann cells, these surround axons in the peripheral nervous system, are responsible for myelination of the peripheral axons, participate in repair process after injury. These are the peripheral neuroglia. While the central nervous system also have other types of neuroglia, the ependymal cells, the microglia, the astrocyte, and the oligodendrocytes. All these are found in the central nervous system, supporting the neuron. Okay, so the neural tissue with supporting blood vessels and connective tissue forms the organs of the nervous system. For example, the brain, spinal cord, the receptors. In complex sense organs and the nerves that interconnect those organs and link the nervous system with the other organs. So the nervous system is divided into central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Yes. Okay, now the CNS or the central nervous system consists of the brain, spinal cord. These are the complex organs that include neural tissue and blood vessels and various connective tissue that provide physical protection and support. The central nervous system is responsible for the integrating, processing and coordinating of the sensory data and motor commands. The CNS, and specifically the brain, is also the center of higher functions, for example, intelligence, memory, learning, and emotion. So we mentioned sensory data and motor commands. Sensory data convey information about conditions inside and outside the body, while the motor commands control or adjust the activities of the peripheral organs, for example, the skeletal muscle. So we can see here the distribution of the nervous tissue in the human body. Here is the CNS, or central nervous system. The peripheral nervous system, or abbreviated PNS, include all the neural tissue outside the CNS. The PNS delivers sensory information to the CNS and carries motor commands to the peripheral tissue and systems. The PNS is divided into afferent division. The afferent division of the PNS bring sensory information to the CNS from the receptors in the peripheral tissue and organs, while the efferent division of the PNS carries motor commands from the CNS to the muscles and glands, or we can call it the effector. The efferent division is also further divided into the somatic nervous system, SNS, control the skeletal muscle contraction. It could be voluntary or involuntary. The other division is the autonomic nervous system, ANS, or visceral motor system, provide automatic involuntary regulation of the smooth muscles, cardiac muscle, glandular activity, or secretion. It includes the sympathetic division and the parasympathetic division. Here we can find the peripheral nervous tissue in the blue. Okay, so this flow chart summarizes the information that we received in the previous slides. We can find here the structure and function of each part of the nervous system, starting with the CNS, central nervous system, composed of the brain and spinal cord. The functions are integrative and control centers, while the peripheral nervous system, PNS, composed of the cranial nerves and spinal nerves. The function, communication lines between the CNS and the rest of the body. The PNS is divided into sensory and motor divisions. The sensory afferent division, somatic and visceral sensory nerve fibers, function, conduct impulses from receptors to the CNS. The motor efferent division, composed of motor nerve fibers, the function, conducts impulses from the CNS to the effectors, muscles and glands. The efferent division is further divided into somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. The somatic nervous system, composed of somatic motor, function as involuntary. These conduct impulses from the CNS to the skeletal muscles, while the autonomic nervous system, the ANS, composed of visceral motor fibers, which are involuntary, conduct impulses from the CNS to the cardiac muscles, smooth muscles and glands, for example. The autonomic nervous system is further divided into sympathetic division and parasympathetic division. Okay, so here also we can see the structure of the neuron. Dendrites, which receive the signals or information. Processing will happen in the soma or the cell body, and the axon, the long axon, is responsible for conducting the signal, and the telodendrites are responsible for delivering the signal to the other cell or the effector. The functional classification of the neuron. Number one, the sensory neurons from the afferent division of the peripheral nervous system. The cell bodies of the sensory neurons are found in the peripheral sensory ganglia. A ganglion is a collection of neuron cell bodies in the peripheral nervous system. It's divided into somatic sensory neurons, monitor the outside world and our position in it, while the visceral sensory neurons, it monitor the internal condition and the status of the other organ system. The second class of the functional classification of the neurons is the motor neurons, or efferent neurons, which carries instructions from the central nervous system to the peripheral effectors. The motor neurons stimulate a peripheral tissue or organ. We can see here in this image that a sensory receptor, for example the eye, receives information which is conducted by the sensory neurons to the central nervous system, and in the central nervous system there is integration and processing of information, then carried back as a motor command by the peripheral neurons to an effector. Here is a muscle.